Alright, what we're going to be talking about today is bonsai wintertime shelters and protection. Now before we get started, this is mainly a video for people who live up north where there's, a lot of snow and ice and below zero temperatures in the wintertime. If you live somewhere like California or Texas or Florida where it stays warm all year round, you don't really need to worry about this. But, if there's ice and snow, with what I just said, you should consider building one of these shelters. So why are we even building shelters at all? Why don't we just leave the bonsai trees out in our yard for the winter? A lot of damage can occur, and there's people who say, well, you just leave them outside, they're trees, they'll be fine. The fact of the matter is that if there's ice or snow on the branches, that can kill the branches. There'll be a lot of dieback. It can even kill the whole tree. And the next thing is, in nature, trees, they grow in the ground, and the roots are below ground level. In the wintertime, the ground only freezes, I'm not exactly sure, it's for anywhere from a couple of inches to maybe a foot or 2 feet, so the roots don't actually freeze in nature. When we have a tree inside of a container, it's above ground level, and therefore the air just circling around it, and then the fact that there's not much cover, the entire root ball can freeze in a pure block of ice, and if that happens, the ice crystals are actually sharp, and they'll pierce all the roots, kill off, the entire tree, and your tree will be dead by the spring. So what you want to do is you want to build this wintertime shelter. It'll give you pretty much a 99% chance, guarantee of survival, so we'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, so before we start, showing you what I'm going to be doing for the wintertime shelter, let's talk about, other methods and what sometimes people do mistakenly when they're beginners. We already talked about leaving your trees out in the snow. That can kill them. I would not try it. The next thing people do is they bury their plants in the ground for the winter, dig them up in the springtime, put them back in the pot. Personally, I think that's just kind of nonsense. If you're going to be growing a bonsai tree, it's just kind of nonsense to have it in the container and then put it in the ground for the winter, then back in the container in the ground every year. That just seems like nonsense to me. Other times, people just, put them in the garage. For the most part, that'll work. But again, sometimes if it gets too cold, that can kill the tree. What you don't want to do is bring them inside your house. That's the biggest beginner mistake. People want to keep their trees protected, so they just bring them inside their house. Trees need a dormancy period. Like this tree, it's not a pine tree, it's actually a deciduous conifer. This yellow color is normal. They lose their leaves and they have a resting period, and even evergreens like this juniper and pine trees, they go into dormancy, so they need cold temperatures in the wintertime. The only tree you want to bring inside your house is a tropical bonsai tree. So if you have a tropical tree, bring it inside. If you have like a juniper, a pine tree, or a deciduous tree, you want to leave that outdoors. Alright, so let's not even waste any more time. Let's get started talking about these winter shelters. You're going to need some basic materials. Not a lot. This is a pretty simple concept. Number one, you can get a plastic box that the tree's container will fit in. So you can buy like these plastic boxes at some store like Target or something. Another thing that also works is a wooden container. The good thing about wooden containers is that you can build with them. So you could screw some boards to the sides and have 4 of these, and then you can wrap the whole thing in plastic and you'll have sort of a miniature greenhouse. So either the wooden box or the plastic shelter, whatever is easier for you to get. The next thing, some cloth or burlap if you have it, something like this. And the last part is Reptile heating cable. This is pretty much the most important thing. This is to warm up the soil. Now this isn't going to warm up the soil to a tropical, Florida environment inside, the container. This is going to keep it above freezing. Last year I checked, this heating cable keeps the soil temperature between 15 degrees Fahrenheit and 25 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's really optimal conditions for the winter time. If it gets any colder than 15 degrees Fahrenheit, that can kill your tree. So this is the most important thing. You can pick it up at a pet store or something like that. And that's pretty much all the materials you'll need. Pretty simple concept. What we do with this heating cable is we take it, unravel it, and you want to take this heating cable and put it in the bottom of your container and sort of snake it around. And the directions say use electrical tape. So if you're going to get this and do, what I'm, recommending, don't use duct tape or anything. Just use electric tape, and then maybe you can tape over the electric tape if you need additional reinforcement. I actually have some built here, so you can see the zigzag on the bottom. It's sort of like that, and that what you want to get is pieces of wood so that the container isn't sitting directly on the heating cable, because it'll warm up pretty good. So we just put these, down in the bottom of the container between the coils, so we'll keep the tree above the heating cable. It'll still warm up the tree. So let's say we put this heating cable and we zigzagged it around the bottom of this container. So we got the container, we got the heating cable ready to go. Now what we would do is we would take our tree, make sure it fits. You always want to test fit it, of course, before you buy any size container. You want to make sure your trees will fit. And if the container covers your tree, that's pretty good. That's actually preferred. But if it doesn't, that's still alright. The heating cable should warm up the soil. So we got the heating cable heating it up. We got the plant in the container. The last thing we can do is wrap the root ball in some kind of cloth. And you don't want to stuff it in the box. What you actually want to do is you want to drape it so there's sort of a space like in between. There's air in here that'll warm up, and it's not just heating up the cloth, because then sometimes the cloth can absorb all the heat, and that's not good. So what you can do is you can wrap the tree root ball in this cloth, and that will trap the heat on really cold days. And if it gets to be super freezing, like wind chills, which there shouldn't be wind chills if you're in a shelter in like a garage, you can cover this whole tree, and that'll be good for a couple of days. You don't want to keep evergreens like this the entire winter because they need sunlight, since they're always green. But if it's a deciduous tree, you can cover the box, keep it shut all winter. They don't need sunlight. So you just want to make sure that the material isn't heavy, so it won't break off all the branches. And that's pretty much it. That's how you build a wintertime shelter. Again, we got these containers set up. We got this wood on the bottom that'll hold up the container. Put the tree in, and this honestly should be fine. And then if it gets to be really cold, we can take a cloth, cover it, make sure we don't break off any branches. Or even just take the cloth and wrap it around the sides if this is exposed to the cold. I should probably move this over, make sure you're getting it. If this is exposed to the cold, that's fine. As long as we keep the roots warm, the tree should do fine. So this is a kind of winter shelter. Again, I said it'll give you a 99% chance survival rate. We want to keep these roots from freezing. The ideal best thing you can do is take these containers, put them inside a garage, and just keep your trees in these containers and in a garage. That'll prevent any snow from falling on them. If you don't have a garage, again, like I said, you can sort of I would use wood if you don't have a garage, because it's stronger than plastic, and build a box that'll enclose the whole tree. And if it's an evergreen, you can use a clear plastic and or an old window and have the top where you open up to put the tree in, have that glass so then you can let light in, because evergreens still need light. If it's a deciduous tree and it fits inside the box, you can just put a lid on it, it'll be fine. And that's pretty much what I do in the winter time to prevent my trees from dying. The heating cable is really the key thing here. Keeps the soil level from 15 degrees to 25 degrees, so there will be no ice forming in the root ball. I'm going to be making more videos. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'll be doing a video about, the further care, because these trees still need to have be provided water in the winter time, and different things in the winter time can be done. So I'm going to be making more videos about winter time. I'm going to be making some about seeds that we're going to be growing, possibly some tropical bonsai. So hit the subscribe button and I'll be back with more videos.